So if I put myself in the shoes of an SMB, right? You know, it almost seems like somebody is taking on the risk, saying that if they take they sign on those dotted lines, saying that yes, they take the ownership, and everything is okay. They don't really get any reward for it, but if something goes wrong, they go to jail. Seems like a pretty scary, pretty scary, ownership for anybody to sign off. Who should own the decision, the risk decision or the risk ownership, if you may, versus implementation, right? Engineers are busy implementing. Somebody's like, especially if companies don't have a dedicated person that says, yep, they'll take over the ownership, like a CISO or whoever. In a normal organization, do you think it's better to offload that to companies like, to people like yourself who understand that? Or do you think there are ways for companies to say, well, that's further up, somebody will own it? And does it
There
have to be a dedicated person, or can it be a shared responsibility, like in the day
can be,
job, there's something else? Yeah.
yeah. So there is risk transference. You look at insurance, and maybe you hire. I've heard of people that hire red teams through legal firms so that when they get the reports, right, it's all privileged information, right, which means not necessarily reportable. There's different games and things that people play for that, but ultimately it's who owns the financial risk, and that might be deferred to different organizations. Ultimately, there's someone that signs the books. That's defined by the IRS, right? If we're talking in the US. And so that person is generally the one on the hook. Now, they may delegate below, right? Technically, the board of directors is, but if they defined a CFO or an accounting firm or someone like that to sign off and own the books, then they'll do that. So you have some of the big four accounting firms. It's one of the reasons they go through audits when they're signing off on books is they need to make sure they're not signing their own lawsuits
Right.
in real time, right? So there's different potential for different people within the organization or even outside orgs to own some of the risk, but ultimately there's a single person in charge, right? Now, whether that person wants to accept the risk or not is a different thing, but sometimes they have to. If you're a CTO or maybe it's an SMB, so you're maybe a smaller, medium IT shop, you still own your IT risk and the security there. You just may not go to jail for it if it's messed up,
Mm.
but you can still take responsibility and implement those controls and be proactive. There's a lot of the CIS benchmarks, NIST, CSF, the sample things that they provide. That's all out of the box, and you can grab someone like myself to help you curate those and get into a good spot. You can do it yourself, and you can do all that without too much disruption or ownership from senior leaders. So, and they'll usually appreciate it if you've done all the work, right? For putting that all
Yeah.
together. And especially if they only have to sign off on some policies.